Today, we're going to dig into something you probably never think about, but it's what's making one of the world's most incredible transformations possible. We're not talking about the shiny skyscrapers, but what's buried deep underneath them. Yeah, we're talking about the ductile iron pipe market in the GCC. Let's get into it.
I mean, seriously, think about it. How do you actually build a massive, sprawling city, let alone a giga project right in the middle of the sand? You see the pictures, you see the ambition, but what makes it all work?
Well, the answer isn't up in the skyline. It's buried way down below. The real secret, the actual foundation for all of this incredible development, is a huge, totally unseen network of pipes.
And to really get why this network is so important, you have to understand the #1 challenge in the region. It's all about water. Okay, just look at the pressures at play here. You've got one of the driest climates on the planet, clashing with some of the fastest growing cities in the world. Then you throw in these absolutely massive projects like NEOM that need a mind-boggling amount of resources. And to top it all off, a lot of the old infrastructure is just, well, old. It's a perfect storm that creates this unbelievable demand for one thing: super reliable water and wastewater systems.
So how do you solve that puzzle? Well, the answer is a truly ironclad solution. You can think of it as the arteries for these new and growing nations.
And we're talking about ductile iron pipes. Now, this is not your granddad's old cast iron. This stuff is engineered to be incredibly strong and to last a really, really long time. That makes it perfect for the tough conditions in the GCC. We're talking about corrosive soil and high humidity that would just eat other materials for breakfast. This is where ductile iron really shines.
This slide right here tells the whole story. It's a total before and after. On one side, you've got the old stuff, brittle cast iron and asbestos cement that were always leaking and breaking, and on the other side, ductile iron pipes. This is a massive leap forward. We're talking a lifespan of over 50 years and the strength to handle the insane pressures needed to push water across huge stretches of desert.
All right, so just how big is the demand for these foundational arteries? Let's size it up and get into the numbers.
This year, right now, the market for these pipes in the Gulf is worth more than $500 million. Just let that sink in for a second. That's a huge investment, and it gives you a real feel for the sheer volume of infrastructure being put in the ground as we speak.
And it's not slowing down, not by a long shot. By the end of the decade, the market is expected to jump to around $750 million a year. So, this isn't some short-term trend. It's a massive, sustained build-out.
And if you want to understand the engine that's driving all this growth, just look at this number. Saudi Arabia alone has earmarked a staggering $80 billion for its water projects. When a government commits that kind of money, it creates a guaranteed demand that is just off the charts.
And this chart breaks down exactly who the big players are. No surprise, Saudi Arabia is the clear leader here. Get this, it accounts for about 1.4% of the entire world's demand for these pipes. That's wild. The UAE is right there behind them, and the other GCC countries add up to a pretty significant market too. And it all traces back to those ambitious national plans.
So we know the market is huge, but where exactly are all these pipes going? Turns out there are 4 main engines driving this thing forward.
This chart gives us a great little snapshot. The biggest piece of the pie, by far, is for potable water, drinking water. Right after that is sewage and wastewater management. And yeah, oil and gas and other industries use them too, but the main takeaway is this market is all about the 2 most basic services a city needs: clean water coming in and wastewater going out.
So let's zoom in on that #1 engine, potable water. Getting clean water to these growing cities is priority #1. And as a perfect example, just look at Sharjah in the UAE. They're laying down 245 kilometers of huge pipelines. That's part of a $1 billion program just to make sure their water supply is secure. That's the kind of scale we're dealing with here.
Now, that second engine, wastewater, is just as crucial, and it's growing like crazy. The goal is twofold. First, to get 100% sewer coverage for everyone, and second, to reuse that water for things like agriculture. Take Qatar. They're pouring over $22 billion into their drainage and sewage networks. That is a massive commitment to modern sanitation.
Okay, so let's pull all these threads together and look ahead, because these projects are directly tied to the region's famous long-term ambitions.
This timeline just paints such a clear picture of steady, healthy growth. You see that CAGR of 5 to 6%? That's not a speculative bubble. That's the sign of a market that's built on a rock-solid foundation of careful, long-term national planning.
This growth isn't just a guess. It's practically a promise that's built right into these countries' strategic visions.
And you don't have to take my word for it. This quote from market analysts just nails it. This isn't happening by accident. It's a direct result of proactive government strategies and huge focused investment. The policies are literally creating the demand.
Now, it's not a simple market, of course. As this table shows, the pricing is actually a pretty complex dance. The costs are tied to the ups and downs of global steel prices. Making things locally gives you a big advantage. And the competition to win these massive projects is so fierce, it keeps profits razor thin. It's a really dynamic and challenging supply chain.
And this slide right here is the ultimate why. This was never just about pipes. It's about making national dreams come true. Saudi Vision 2030, with projects like NEOM and the Red Sea Project, absolutely impossible without these water networks. The same is true for the UAE's water security goals and for Qatar's development after the World Cup. These pipes are the unglamorous but totally essential foundation for all of it.
So this iron backbone is being laid down as we speak, setting the stage for decades of growth. And it leaves us with one final thought to chew on. As these nations build their future on this powerful, unseen foundation, what are the other hidden foundations, whether they're digital or educational or logistical, that will ultimately decide their success? The answer to that is going to shape the future of the entire region.